The Crimson Rebirth. Volume 1. Whispered from the Abyss. In the hush between dusk and oblivion, a tale begins. Not with light, but with a single drop of blood falling into silence. Shadows stir where trust was broken, and something long buried claws its way back to the surface. What has been lost may yet awaken, but not without a cost. The Crimson Rebirth, Part 1. I wanted to die. I wanted to die, not for drama, not for show, but for silence. There's a difference between being sad and being finished. I was finished. Every morning was an insult, every night a lie I repeated to myself. Tomorrow will be different. But it never was. My wrist knew the razor, my lips knew the pills, my eyes knew the ceiling of too many empty rooms. The world was loud. Too loud. And I wanted quiet. Not a scream, not a cry for help. Just the end. I even wrote the note 10 times, burned each one as if I wanted the smoke to carry my goodbye. But something always stopped me, a shadow in my chest, a whisper in the corners, not guilt, not fear. Something curious. Then last week, I saw him in the alley behind the bookstore where the trash smells like regret and the light never quite reaches the ground. He was tall, pale like the moon through a rain-washed window, eyes black, no, not black, red drowned in shadow. He didn't move, didn't breathe, just watched. I walked home that night shaking because for the first time in months I felt something. Fear, heat, alive. That night I dreamed of blood, a chalice poured over roses, a kiss beneath the skin, and a voice, low, velvet, and cruel. You are not finished. You are only asleep. Let me wake you. I haven't told anyone. No one would believe me. But something has changed. The shadows cling to me now. Mirrors blur my face. And in every heartbeat, I feel him breathing with me. Watching, waiting. The Crimson Rebirth, Part 2. The voice that drinks my name. It began the next night. Not a dream, not a hallucination. His voice was inside me. Not in my ears, in my blood. It didn't say much. Just my name, over and over, like a prayer with fangs. Alina. Whispered like silk dragging across a fresh wound. It echoed between my ribs, nestled behind my sternum. I should have been terrified, but I wasn't. I was opened. Every breath tasted different, like ash and roses. My heart didn't beat right anymore, too slow, too loud. It pulsed in rhythm with his voice. I found myself staring into dark places. Windows at midnight, shadows that flickered wrong, looking for him, wanting him. He never appeared, not fully, but the whispers grew bolder, stronger. Sometimes he spoke in other tongues, languages that curled in my head like smoke, and every word tugged something ancient in me. He knew me better than anyone. He told me of blood, of eternity, of silence deeper than death. He called it a gift. Said I was already dead to the world. Why not be reborn? I laughed in my bathtub, alone and naked, with candles flickering like they knew my name. He whispered, "Do you want to belong to the dark, or keep begging the light to notice?" And I said, "Take me." Not with fear, with hunger. Because the truth is, I was never meant for sunlight. I was born for the shadow, and it was calling me home. The Crimson Rebirth, Part 3. When the night entered me. It happened on the third night. The candle went out without warning. The bath water turned cold and the whisper became a hand. Not flesh, not quite, but I felt it. A touch like velvet and frost, a caress that left bruises beneath the skin without pain. He was inside my room, inside me. No longer a voice, now a presence. The shadows rippled, and there he was, not stepping from the dark, emerging from it. As if he was the dark. He didn't speak, he didn't need to. I dropped the towel from my shoulders, not out of shame, out of reverence. He placed his hand on my chest, and I stopped breathing. Not gasping, not panicking, just silent. And in that silence, I heard everything. The blood beneath the walls, the song of rats in the vents, the whisper of the moon as it devoured clouds. I heard myself unravel. He leaned in, and his lips never touched mine. They hovered so close, I could taste the grave on his breath, and he said, not aloud, but inside me, "Let me in, Alina." I did. I opened every part of me, mind, body, soul. And when he kissed my throat, I didn't scream. I sighed. And when his fangs broke skin, it felt like coming home. was no longer alone in my own body. He was in my veins now, a dark tide rising, and I whispered as the light left my limbs. Thank you. Because I finally understood. Death was not the end. It was just the price of becoming. The Crimson Rebirth, Part 4. The hunger that speaks.
I woke up screaming. No, not screaming. Gasping like a child pulled from the bottom of a dark lake. My throat was on fire, my veins were wires, and my mouth was dry. So dry. I drank water, then wine, then milk, then tears. Nothing helped until I smelled it. Blood. On my neighbor's wrist, a paper cut. Just a smear. Just a drop. But it sang like a siren through my skull, and something inside me answered. Not the vampire, not the man, something new. It moved in my belly, spoke in my throat, not words, need. I pressed my fingers to my lips, but the whisper came anyway. Drink. And I ran out into the street, barefoot and breathless, with moonlight slicking my skin. I didn't know where I was going, only that I had to feed. And in an alley I found a rat. It looked at me, I looked at it, and the hunger laughed. Not cruel, not insane, joyful. So I caught it and bit and drank. The taste was wrong, but it quieted the voice. For now. I vomited in the gutter, blood and fur and shame. But when I wiped my mouth, I smiled, because I was no longer starving, I was becoming. And the hunger, it spoke, not with threats, with promises. It said, feed wisely, choose well, the next blood must be earned, not taken. I walked home in silence, moonlight on my tongue, belly full of sin, and a new voice humming in my skull like a lullaby. And I whispered back, I hear you. The Crimson Rebirth, Part 5. Blood of the Old Moon.
The hunger didn't leave me. It grew teeth, but it also grew wisdom. The voice didn't scream now. It taught.
He returned again. The one who made me. Not with blood this time, but with ritual. He called it the rite of the old moon. A rite of binding, of truth, of remembrance. He said, before you feed, you must kneel. So I knelt. in a circle of ash and candlelight. The flame turned blue, the floor pulsed like skin. He brought forth a chalice fashioned from bone and sin. Inside blood that sang, not human older. It smelled like rust, but sweeter than life. He whispered, "Drink not for hunger, drink for the vow. This is not sustenance, this is inheritance." So I drank. And when the blood touched my tongue, I saw everything. Fields of corpses beneath black stars, wolves howling hymns, a crown of thorns that bit back. I saw my name carved into a scroll of skin, and I saw her. The first pale as ash, eyes like molten coal, hair of night itself. She smiled and bled into me. When I opened my eyes, I was on the floor, trembling, grinning. He said, "You are now of the line, you drink with purpose. You feed with legacy. You kill with law." And I said, "I will never take blood in vain." Because now I knew. This was not a curse, it was a covenant, and I was no longer just a fledgling. I was heir to the night, daughter of blood, and the old moon now burns behind my eyes. The Crimson Rebirth, Part 6. The first hunt. The city pulsed, lights like blood cells, streets like veins, and I walked among them, starving, but not desperate. Not anymore. He said, "Tonight you choose, tonight you mark the bloodline." So I dressed in shadow, wore perfume of rain and old grave, and stepped into the heartbeat of the world. I could feel it now, the rhythm, the tides of breath and thought, every mortal a beacon, a candle begging for wind. I wandered, listened, and then I heard him. The abuser. His voice carried violence even when he smiled. His hand left bruises where no one could see. He walked alone, drunk, laughing. I followed, not from fear, from right. I cornered him in the alley, moon above, trash below. He looked at me like prey sometimes, looks back. He asked me if I was lost. I smiled and said, "I found you." He tried to run, but I was faster, stronger, hungry. I pinned him, whispered into his ear. "This is the mercy you never gave." And I bit and drank, and he screamed. It echoed like music through the bricks, and when I was done, I kissed his cheek and said, "Be forgotten."
The hunger wept in joy, the old moon watched in pride. I wasn't ashamed, I was fulfilled, and when I walked away, the night sang for me, because this was my right, my first hunt, and I made it holy.
Crimson Rebirth, Part 7. The guilt beneath the glory.
The blood was warm, still. Even days later, I could feel it inside me. It gave me strength, it gave me purpose, but also weight. I saw him in my dreams, the abuser, not whole, not screaming, just staring. His eyes were empty, his mouth open, but no sound came out, only guilt. Not for his sins, for mine, because no matter what he was human. And I am not anymore. I tried to celebrate. I tried to wear the crown of crimson without trembling, but I found myself in the mirror, and I couldn't see my eyes, only the shadow of what I used to be. The voice returned, my maker. He said, "Regret is a habit of the living." But I wasn't sure anymore if I had truly died. Because the ache, it lingered. And with every whisper of the hunger, every scent of blood on the wind, I wondered how many more must fall before I forget who I was. How many screams will it take before my soul goes silent? He said we kill with law, with purpose, but purpose cannot erase innocence. And now I fear that someday I will bite someone who reminds me of me, and I won't stop. Because the hunger will have learned how to lie.
The Crimson Rebirth, Part 8. The Temptation of Warmth.
Blonde, smiling, wearing a scarf knitted by someone who still loved her. She laughed, tucked her hair behind her ear, sipped tea that steamed like breath from a living soul. And for a moment, I missed it. Not the blood, not the power,
The warmth, the hum of breath in winter, the sting of cold fingers, the ache of laughter born from nothing. I pressed my hand to the glass. She didn't see me, but I felt her like a fire I couldn't hold, and the hunger stirred, not for her throat, for her life. I wanted to sit beside her, to speak of books, of songs, of fear, to remember what it was to want without needing. But I couldn't. Because I would taste her in every word, and I would not stop. I would drink her stories, her skin, her sighs, until she was only memory in the red tide beneath my tongue. I turned away, and the hunger mocked me. "You were never that girl," it hissed. "You only dreamed her." But it was wrong. Because I remember that scarf. I had one just like it, woven by a mother who sang lullabies I now only hear when the wind touches graveyards. And as I disappeared into the snow, I whispered, "Next time, I might not walk away." And the hunger laughed. The Crimson Rebirth, Part 9. The night I said yes. I stopped apologizing for the thirst, for the hunt. For me, the blood is mine. The power earned the silence I carry. Sacred. I am not the girl behind the glass. I am the storm outside it. There was a moment last night when I walked past a man on the bridge. He nodded, kind smile, warm eyes, and I almost stopped. I almost asked his name, but instead I whispered, "You're lucky." Because I had already fed, and for once I didn't hate myself for the ache. I worshipped it. Because it meant I was still tethered, still part of something bigger than want. I came home, drank crimson from a silver flask, looked at the stars like old friends. And I said aloud, yes, to the night, to the bite, to the eternity curled beneath my tongue. Yes to the shadow, yes to the fire in my spine, yes to the beauty of becoming. The hunger purred, the wind bowed. Even the moon looked brighter, as if proud of my answer. I no longer mourn the heartbeat I lost. Because what I've gained is mine, and I wear it like a crown. dusk. The Crimson Rebirth, Part 10. The Kiss of Forever. The night is mine, not borrowed, not inherited. Claimed. I walked into the cathedral at midnight, barefoot, blood drying on my throat, and I stood where saints used to kneel. Candles flickered like they feared me. The crucifix cracked, and still I smiled. Because I was no longer running, no longer doubting, no longer human. He was waiting for me, my sire, my shadow, my first death. He bowed, and for the first time, I did not kneel. He asked if I was ready. I said, I've already begun. He offered his wrist, blood like black wine, and I drank for the last time as a student. The hunger sang, the bones of the world shook. I heard voices of the old ones. I saw the future in crimson fog, and I said aloud, let the world end in fire. I will still burn brighter. He kissed my forehead, whispered, then rise, my queen of ash. And I did. My eyes opened to a darker truth. My limbs moved with eternal grace. I felt forever coil around my soul like a serpent kissing its own tail. And it was beautiful. This was never death. This was a becoming. A final bloom on the tree of rotten resurrection. I left the cathedral as morning scratched at the sky, and it could not touch me. Because I was no longer a child of dawn. I was the dusk incarnate, the blood crown bearer, the one who chose, and I whispered to the rising sun, you may warm the world, but I will always rule its shadow. First fracture in the mirror of madness. The crimson path deepens, and the thirst grows stronger. Dare to continue, but know this, what has begun cannot be undone.